All right. Hello, everyone. This is Liz, once again live from the Derry Public Library's New Hampshire room, here today with some prime picks on this beautiful Wednesday. Um, Kind of going along the classic route today. Nothing too super new. As I said, I think the newest thing we have is from like 2011, and oh my God, that is almost 10 years old. Oh my God, I feel like Donovan at the end of Indiana Jones and the Last Crusade. Anyway, let's get down to our recommendations. The first, I'm going to go with a classic escape film. I'm sure a lot of you probably know of this movie. I'm talking about the Steve McQueen film, The Great Escape. One of the best sort of like team up escape movies ever made. Criterion is releasing a new edition of it very soon, which we may or may not have at the library. Can't promise anything, but I would say if you haven't seen this, it's a big part of film history. It's a big part of action film history. Um, the action movies I like, I tend to like more sort of hand to hand combat, more down to earth stuff. So something like The Great Escape is more up my alley than, let's say, a Transformers movie. I'm not gonna disrespect the giant fighting monster movies; those are classics as well. Going on with the classic theme, I'm recommending Johnny Guitar. So this was brought to my attention because the Coolidge Corner Theater down in Brookline, Mass, is doing a virtual seminar on that, and I saw, oh, it's on Prime. I'm sure a lot of people know the star of this, Joan Crawford. She plays a woman who runs a saloon. And, has to face down, like, the bad guys, so to speak. It's very different from a lot of Westerns because, unlike a lot of Westerns, especially ones in like the 50s, Joe Crawford is the main character. It's centered around her, and she's certainly not a damsel in distress. If you watch a lot of Westerns, the women are usually wives, maybe women of ill repute. They're certainly not main characters a lot of the times, and they need to be rescued a lot. Johnny Guitar is something that goes completely against that frame, and I think that's why it is a film that has endured a lot. And Joan Crawford is very good at playing those tough as nails characters. I think she's become a lot a joke because of Mommy Dearest, which I'm not gonna lie, I love Mommy Dearest. That movie is great. And the final movies she made in her career were not good. And of course, there's the type of person she likely was in real life, which let's just say difficult. But she really was a good actress and she could play these tough, hard as nails women. And it kind of, when you kind of look at where Hollywood went, it's easy to see why she didn't get those roles because there weren't a lot of roles for women like that as time went on. But I would say if you want a Western that's not like other Westerns, Johnny Guitar is great. Onward to 1980. This is a little romantic drama called The Competition, starring Amy Irving and Richard Dreyfuss. It's basically one, has been at 30 years old. And that's something that just doesn't play anymore, right? Piano has been at 30 years old, and then a young piano playing ingenue who's 23. They meet at a music competition, and there's romance. It's not the best movie ever made, but I'm very happy I watched it. It's serviceable, and I'm very glad that the great podcast 80s All Over kind of steered me toward it. I think when people think of 80s films, they think of movies from like the mid 80s forward, and they forget that a lot of early 80s movies still had a lot of 70s style, um, mores, and that kind of bled into the first few years of the decade. And I would consider, I mean, definitely the competition made in came out in 1980 definitely feels like a 70s movie. Going with the 80s as well, this is a great movie. If you are not a horror person, you might still love David Cronenberg's The Dead Zone. If you're a Stephen King fan, definitely watch this movie. Christopher Walken plays a man who has an accident, is in a coma, wakes up, he can see how people die, he can see into the future. And it is a film that it's not like a beginning, middle, and end. It's really more segments of this man's life and how much having this power really weighs on him and kind of destroys his life in a way. Christopher Walken is the lead, one of his few leading roles, and he's great in it. Brooke Adams has a supporting role, which, by the way, I apparently just learned Brooke Adams recovered from COVID, which Oh, thank goodness. I love her. I don't want to live in a world without her. And Martin Sheen is a very unscrupulous, cowardly politician. It's a great movie. Again, it's one where it's like, even if you're not a horror person, this is more kind of into the supernatural drama. You might be able to watch this movie, but I can't recommend it enough. Great score as well, and definitely up there with one of the best Stephen King adaptations. We're now going into the 90s with a little movie called Foxfire. This is based on a Joyce Carol Oates book. I am give or take on Joyce Carol Oates. I find a lot of her stuff to be overwrought. But her book, Tales of a Girl Gang, is kind of fun in a pulpy way. And this is very notable because this is early Angelina Jolie, not like Girl Interrupted when we started figuring out who Angelina Jolie was, but this is like early, just not quite dipping her toe into acting, but starting to really get a feel for herself as an actress. So if you're interested in sort of um, early era Angelina, this is a must to watch. And also, Jenny Simizu, who's better known as a model, is also in this film in a supporting role, as is Jenny Lewis, who's better known as a singer. It's really an interesting sort of relic of the 90s, if anything. Onto another 90s movie directed by a very well known director, two-time Oscar winner Ang Lee. Eat, Drink, Man, Woman. This is a movie that I actually discovered when I was in high school because my library had a DVD copy. It is a charming little movie about a widowed chef. He has three daughters. They're all very modern. It's just a nice family comedy drama. Airs more on comedy, but it'll charm the pants off of you. It is a great film to watch, and I'm very glad that it's on Prime so I can recommend it. On to something that probably won't charm the pants off of you. It'll probably make you sad. The Hours is on Prime. So this is the film that starred Meryl Streep, Julianne Moore, Nicole Kidman, three of the best actresses just all together in one movie. Surprised the screen didn't just explode at that point. It's an adaptation of Michael Cunningham's book. So you have Nicole Kidman playing Virginia Woolf herself, who she won an Oscar for this role. Should have won it for Moulin Rouge, but that's just my own personal opinion. You have Julianne Moore as a very unhappy, unsatisfied housewife who's reading the book. And then you have Meryl Streep as like a modern day woman. It's interesting to see how all these stories interlock together. I know Nicole Kidman won the Oscar, but the segment that stays with me the most is Julianne Moore's, and I think she is. I don't want to say underappreciated because she finally won an Oscar, but it's more of those like, really? It took you till 2015 for that? She's been fantastic for years. She even managed to take a bit part in Hand That Rocks the Cradle and make it memorable. Actually, sticking with Julianne Moore, my next recommendation is the HBO movie Game Change. So this is based on the book about the election in 2008, although it only, the book in it for 2008 focuses on both the Obama campaign and the McCain campaign, but this particular movie only focuses on the McCain campaign, specifically the hiring or the vetting or lack thereof of Sarah Palin for the vice presidential campaign. And rather than being a mocking film, it actually portrays her as, very human, and Julianne Moore gives her a lot of humanity. If anything, the condemnation is more on the people who decided this would be a good idea and didn't do their homework. It's an interesting little film. Definitely stuff is done for dramatic effect, but it's got a lot of good actors in it. Woody Harrelson, who never really gives a bad performance, is great as Steve Schmidt. He's got a lot of funny lines in there. And again, I think Julianne Moore is really good in this. She could have played this as an SNL character the way Tina Fey did, but she decided to play her as a fully rounded person. Finally, if you're looking for something a little more bingeable, Ken Burns has a few documentaries up on Prime. The first is Jazz. So if you're a big music person, this would be a perfect thing to watch. And the other one he has is one he collaborated with his daughter on, the one on the Central Park 5. About a month ago, oh, lights went out. Oh well. I'm still here, everybody. About a month ago, I talked about the Ava DuVernay dramatization of that case, When They See Us. And this came out in 2015, and it was really around the time that people were starting to realize, like, oh, wait, I don't think these people did it. So it is a good but a very frustrating documentary about which was a total lack of justice for these five young men. And I think it's an important thing to watch. It's still a very relevant case in our society. And Ken Burns is probably, I think it's safe to call him America's documentarian. Um, so I won't have you stare at me in the dark anymore. Hopefully you'll watch one of these, and I will see you tomorrow. Have a great day.